today I'm gonna make a dresser for my wife and I's bedroom. We've been needing a dresser for a while now. So yeah, I'm gonna video as much of it as I can, as fluidly as I can, so that it's not confusing to watch. And let's go on this ride together. First, I suppose I'll show the plans. That way we aren't too lost here. So we're building a 40-inch tall dresser by 60 inches wide top. There's the rest of the shelf. This will be the side. I'm doing it 20 inches wide total, so that's how far it sticks off the wall. So these are my drawer fronts here. I decided to go with a full width drawer, like all the way across, because I've not seen anyone do that before. My first step is gonna be to make these legs here. And so my plan is to make the two side pieces first. And then after I strip down these legs, I'm gonna run my router, my hand router in here to make a 3/4 inch channel so that I can inlay the side 3/4 inch plywood panels into the legs. And then I'm gonna pocket hole screw them in there. But yeah, that's the first step. So let me set up. I'm gonna get stuff pulled out and just let you guys sit back and watch. I picked up some 2x4s untreated. I'm gonna see how this goes. And yeah. Well, we got our legs. If you're following along and trying to do a cheap dresser leg, that's the way to do it. Go with a 2x4 and cut it down into 2x2 or 1.5x1s, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, legs. Let me clean up a little bit, and then we're gonna go into routing the groove into this. So these are two legs, which is gonna make up one side. And I've already marked up, I put X's. I looked at all the corners and kind of looked at which corner I liked the best to be the outside corner that you're gonna see on the front or just on the side. And chose the worst one to go on the inside of the groove where I'm gonna cut out, and it'll be the most hidden. And so these are the two sides that I found. And what I did is I put X's on them. So one I could go, oh yeah, these are the two that I don't like. And then I measured 2 inches up, because that's on my design. I want a 2-inch gap at the bottom of the dresser so that I can lose things like socks and balls and whatever my baby girl ends up, playing with can get lost under there. So 2-inch gap at the bottom, and then I marked out a 1/2 inch because I want that plywood to sit in this gap. Then I'm gonna shave out a 1/2 inch in, and then I'm gonna route it out with my hand router bit, and I'm gonna route it out 3/4 inch deep, because that's how thick the plywood is, so that the plywood sits in there perfectly. And then on the plywood sheet, whenever I end up cutting that down to size, it'll sit in here, and I'll put pocket holes in the plywood and then screw it into here. That way it's anchored in really good, and we'll have a really good side and strong leg, and hopefully this will last for years. But yeah, now I'm gonna get to routing. I changed my router bit. That other one sucked. I don't know what was wrong with it.
that right there, I'll leave it in the video. You gotta be careful when you're running the router really fast and hard, because that'll happen. The bit just kind of bites in hard and then starts chunking everything up. So now I got a little bust out there. And I'll have to clean all this up. Speed leads to errors. And yeah, that's what happened there. Let me check my bit height and everything and make sure it's all good still. Still sharp. Woo! We're just gonna finish out this corner here. And with this big round bit, we can't get a tight radius. So what I'm gonna do is get it as close as possible and then get a chisel out and chisel that square so that the plywood fits in there really good. So yeah, we'll just take out these corners here. That way they're nice and squared off. And then I use our little hammer. It ain't perfect. I got a weird thing going on there where the depth got weird. We'll go back and measure that and make sure it's all good. That guy right there is where I lost control of the router. But otherwise, it's looking really good. So these two legs will go together. Like that. And that's where I lost control of the router too, and it chunked out, but you know, it is what it is. Woo-hoo! Okay, so to wrap up today, bought some 2x4, cut it in half. We're actually pretty good in square, and I'm happy with it. Then we decided to, the next step was to route out that edge for the dresser plywood side. So now we've got all 4 legs routed, ready to go for the side pieces for the dresser. That's all we're gonna do tonight, just because it's time for me to go in and make dinner for my wife and give her a break from the baby. So yeah. Today we're working on making the sides of the dresser. And so I wanted it to be, the top to be 20 inches and for there to be a 3/4 inch overhang on the front of plywood on the front of the dresser. So I spaced these out 19 1/4 inch. And then I measured my gap in between here to see how big I needed to make that, or how much I needed to cut. And so now I got that measurement. It's 17 1/4. And so I'm gonna cut that out of this.
measuring is where the blade actually cuts in correlation to the edge of this. So when I put a straight edge, I can just measure that out and then place my straight edge where I want to cut based off of that line. And it looks like it's 4 inches and 3/4. So when I was cutting with my circular saw over here, it kicked out a little bit off the rail. I gotta get better at holding it on, but that's also why I decided to give myself 18 inches of wood. That way on the table saw I can cut it down, but now I need to make sure this is straight because this edge isn't straight anymore. So I gotta make sure I cut this straight. So when I run it on my table saw, it comes out straight, and I got a straight edge off to work off of. We did it, guys! We got a square edge. So now we got 2 boards with a square edge. Let me make sure I remember. Now I know guard side. Cutting side, guard side. Okay. So never mind. I know I said we were gonna set up the table saw, but I was just thinking it's gonna be awkward to run them lengthwise to cut the top off that I need to get it to this length. And so I'm gonna cut the height wise while I got this set up. So we're at 35 1/4, so I'm gonna cut that down. I think I'm actually gonna cut that to the exact length because I just think running it through on the table saw is gonna be weird because I'm either gonna have a ton hanging off on one side and have to push it through nice and square, or I'm gonna have to, it'll be easier to do it this way, so. Almost messed up and cut on the wrong side of the line. So you don't want the blade to be on the wrong side because then your cut's gonna be off. So this is the piece I'm keeping. So I want the blade on this side of that pencil line. Almost messed up. Woo. Let's see what we did. Woohoo! 34 1/4. 34 1/4. Perfect. One down, one to go. So now we just gotta rip this down to exactly 17 1/4. That way our outside dimension is 19 1/4. Let's see if that was, good or not. 17 1/4. 17 1/4. Let's do it again. $17 1/4. 17 1/4. Perfect. Since I'm gonna screw these together and I want to get all the sanding done for the most part,
That way when I put it together, all I gotta do is seal it or stain it and seal it. All right, so for this wood, the side wood, I don't want to remove any material necessarily because the top layer of this plywood, that is like the show wood, is not very thick. So I don't want to remove a bunch of material. So I'm just gonna hit it with 120 grit sandpaper just to kind of smooth it down. That way when I stain it and seal it, it's nice and soft. That's one side down. I wasn't too worried about sanding the sides super smooth since those are gonna get joined into that wood or sit inside that wood. So we're not too worried about that. So let's do the other. Time for the legs. Okay, so just finished doing the 60 grit, getting it all, roughly sanded. Now I'm gonna switch and do 120 and 220 and sand up the 4 legs, and I'll get back to you when we're done with that. I'm not gonna make you watch all that. So, we finished sanding. We got it, no splinters, thank goodness. Sorry about the gesture. Yeah, finished sanded, feels really smooth as I want to get it to. And I did all of it with a hand sander. And then if you can see, I put a beveled edge here on the side with the hand sander. Now, I didn't do it with this 60 grit because that would take down a ton of material really fast. I did it with the 120 grit, and then I finished sanded it with the 220 grit. You could go finer sanded, but with the woodwork I'm doing, it's got some waves in it and it's gonna be imperfect. But that's kind of the name of this kind of woodwork that I'm doing it. So yeah, we're sanded up. Now I'm gonna take this down and put my horse saws up with a table. That way I got a bigger workspace, and I'm gonna work on putting these together with the other side pieces. So we'll drill some pocket holes in those side pieces, but yeah, we'll get to it. I'm thinking I probably want to put two, and 2 in each spot, because that'll give us a whole lot of strength and gripping force. That way it's really good and strong. I like overdoing it with these things because the more the merrier, right? Unless you're gonna crack your wood out, but I'm not too worried about cracking this out with them spaced out like that. All right, we've got all the marks for our pocket holes, so now I'm just gonna rock and sock and knock out a bunch of pocket holes. We've drilled out our pocket holes. This is where we're gonna send our screws down into to secure the legs to the side panel. And so what I'm doing is, I'm gonna clamp this up so that my wood doesn't wanna separate while I'm screwing in these pocket holes, because that's the one thing you don't wanna do is not have anything holding these together or pushing this down, because Then while you're screwing, this could separate or this could push it up and just do not the thing. So we're gonna work on that. I got my little hammer just to make sure our legs are all the way up and seated. And yeah, so now we're just gonna hook up all this stuff. Get it ready. That's another thing, if you're using like an impact driver, be real careful. You don't want to strip out the screws while you're doing it or crack your wood. You could use a drill and just set your setting lower. That'd actually probably be, a better safe idea. And I'm actually gonna switch over that. Yeah, look at that. We got a little bit of gaps in there, which is okay. This is all handmade. But, oh yeah, look at that. It just stands on its own. It wants to be a dresser. Oh, cool. One side down. One to go. You know what? That's real sturdy. Let's do the other one. Exact same process. See if we're allowed to be happy or not. Oh, I think we're allowed to be happy. I think we're allowed. Look at that. Ooh, that's a good seam. That's a good seam. Yeah, I'd say that looks really good. Let's see, stand test. Oh yeah, it wants to be a frickin' dresser. I love it. I love it. Ooh. Hell yeah. That was good and square. Sweet. Now we got two sides. Yep. Oh. All right. So the true test is seeing how they line up flush with each other. And you know what? It's something I probably should have looked at before I screwed it in, and I didn't think about it, but now I'm where I'm at, and it's fairly close on the top, and it's out of square from the bottom to the top by like 1/8 of an inch. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, we got about 1/8 of an inch or so right here at the top. So yeah, now what? You win some, you lose some. This is a 5 foot in length, so from this edge to this edge, way over here, I don't think you're really gonna be able to see that 1/8 of an inch difference. We'll figure it out, we'll see. And like I said, this is my first dresser build, so we're learning. And yep.